everybody, how's it going? This is Michael Norris. I'm here today with Topher Gleason, sales professional. He's got about 18 years of experience, I would say. I hope I got that right, Topher.
That's correct.
Thank you for coming to be with us today. Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure to be here, Michael. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Like you said, I have about 18 years of experience in the automotive industry, selling to car dealerships from across the nation, from the East Coast to the West Coast. There's very few states that I haven't been in, whether it was blitzing or just, overseeing it as a national sales director at some companies. Mm-hmm. But I've dealt with the industry for such a long time that I can't imagine dealing anywhere else. I have 59,000 contacts. The other day I was looking at my Excel spreadsheet. Now, whether those people are still in the industry or if they've moved on to other different dealerships, that's to say, but I've been able to collect or talk to or have 59,000 different cards handed to me my way, and I put it into Excel spreadsheet, which is pretty impressive. I think over 18 years, maybe it's not, if I start doing the math, it might not be as impressive as, 59,000 divided by 18 might not be that impressive.
We won't do the math, don't worry.
Exactly.
So over the course of all that, I would imagine you've seen just about everything at this point.
I've had cups thrown at me. I've had people tell me to do things to my mother. I've had people put their hands on my car, making it where I couldn't leave or get out of the car. I've had people order me lunch. I played the Be Silent game. Like, it's going to be this much. I put the pen down, the Ben Franklin close, and I shut up. And the person sitting across the desk from me decided that he knew exactly what I was doing, and we didn't talk for 6 hours. Even order lunch by pointing at the menu. And anytime somebody came into his office, he'd get up and leave. But finally, his son got in trouble at school, and he came in and said, "You win," and signed the contract, and off we went. So yeah, I've seen ups and downs and all kinds of turnarounds, and had quite a journey.
Wow. Yeah, I'll say. Some sounds good, some sounds bad. I'll take the free lunch, but I don't know if I'll take the hands on my car.
Right. Well, yeah, they were just trying to be aggressive and do what they thought was right, but
sure.
They owed some money and they want to pay it. Those are the good old days. Yeah. Nowadays, everything's just taken out of the credit card, so we don't have to worry about it, right?
So if you had some advice then for sales professionals who maybe they're experiencing a little bit of a hard time, I don't want to make this, centric to COVID-19, but, I think a lot of sales, in terms of just the rules of engagement remain the same across the board. Would you say that's how you feel about it as well?
Yeah. The main thing to remember is that every tree that's out there that grows is planted. It starts from a seed. Not to get too graphic, but there's an actual palm tree that sustains life in Africa for certain elephants. But the only way for that palm tree to grow is for the seed to be eaten and then go all the way through the elephant and out the other end. And that's the only way it's going to grow, is by that fertilizer itself.
Wow.
So sometimes you have to kind of go through the elephant and end up in the pile before you can actually start to sprout. There's also another big tree in China that you can plant, and it takes 5 years of watering and nurturing and making sure that everything is right and daily taking care of that seed. And it grows about 6 inches and it explodes to 6 feet and 90 feet within 2-3 days. So it's just explosive growth. And there's a great book by Jeff Olson that is called The Slight Edge. So he's got to look at things, it's like a penny doubled upon itself. Someone offers you $1 million, Michael, or I'll give you a penny doubled every month for 31 months. Which one would you take? $1 million or, a penny? Most people are going to say, well, I'll take $1 million. But if you take that penny doubled upon itself for 31 days, it's $20 million.
Sure.
But it's a slow daily, constant grind. And if you're sitting at a point to where the phone is heavy, especially, the way the world is right now, not to centralize it around the pandemic, but if you're at home and you're trying to make phone calls and it's uncomfortable for you, it's not the way that you want things done, you have to remember on the other end is a person. The only thing they can say is no or hang up on you. And we've all had no, and we've all been hung up on, even by people we cared greatly about. They've hung up on you. They've told you no. My children have been told no many times. Granted, in sales, you're going to get told no within a week, more than most people get told no an entire year.
Sure.
And if you really work hard, you can make that in a day. So, and no's do lead to yeses. You just got to plant those seeds. So it's always about planting the seeds. And I remember one of my first outside sales jobs working at Auto Trader. I was sitting in the car, this was back in 2004, and I just got promoted from inside sales to outside sales, and sitting there wondering if I could walk into a dealership. And then it just hit me. I've called these people a million times. There's no better than me. It doesn't matter if they have $1 or if they have $27 million. They're just a person. The most that they can say is, no, I'm not interested, and throw me out. And not literally throw me out. No one's going to put their hands on you. So, it's just a matter of knowing that you can only fail forward. That's very important to remember. Is that you don't want to be trapped into being a citizen of mediocrity. You want to break free and have that decisiveness to build your own wealth, to build your own name, to build your own future, to be who you are. And if you understand that sales is only one thing, and it always will only be one thing, no matter what book is written, no matter what anybody says, it's always going to be one thing. It's a transference of feeling. If you don't feel solid about what you're selling, it doesn't excite you, if you wouldn't buy it, if you don't think when your feet hit the ground in the morning that you're going out to help people, in the automotive industry, I feel like it has to help people from the owner to the porter. So everybody, it needs to be food on the table for everyone. If you don't have that feeling, then find a company where you have that feeling, that product is going to give you what you want inside, which is helping others, if that's what drives you. But if you're struggling right now, remember that you're putting food on the table to people that are working there, that go back to the reasons of what you believe. Why would you buy it? What's holding you back? I like to track, how many phone calls or how many walk-ins I do, how many appointments I set, those type of things, and then look at the amount of money I make, and then just do the simple math of saying, well, every time I walk in the door, whether they say yes or whether they say no, it's $27 I make, or $72 I make, or $150. Would you pick up the phone if I gave you $15 and they say no? Well, yeah. Well, then pick up the phone and get to getting some no's. The more no's, if you hear no, you're bound to hear yes. And if you're struggling, you need to do the things that successful people do when they read books. Norman Vincent Peale, Dale Carnegie, Fred Bettinger, Les Brown. There's so many that are on the list. I mean, I've read so many different books, and they all come around, like How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. That should be a book you're reading once a year, just so you're sharpening your pencil. If you're writing an essay, the pencil's going to get dull. Even though the thoughts are still there, you have to stop, sharpen the pencil, and go back to it. So if you're not sharpening the pencil and you're hit by all this negativity, especially right now in the world, there's a lot of negative things. You turn on any station and it's this and it's that, and the number keeps climbing, or the number is here, or this is false, or that's true, or this person, that person. It just goes on and on and on. But what do you do to combat that? I watch TED Talks. I try to find positive things on YouTube, listen, and then find mentors. But this is the most important part when you're finding a mentor, especially in any industry, not just the automotive industry, is look for people who have the results that you want. Too many people take a mentor or follow the guidelines of somebody who just didn't get it done. So I used to do some fighting when I was younger. My grandmother was a very cantankerous Southern woman who would tell you exactly what she thought. Now, she probably could, throw a good right punch, but when I was on the wrestling mat, she didn't know what I was doing. I'm not going to go to my grandmother, who was, 4'8" and, barely 80 pounds, and ask her, hey, grandma, how do I put this guy in a cradle or banana splits? It just doesn't work that way. So she had a lot of results I was looking for in other areas of life, but not the results I was looking for in that area of that life. And that's very, very important. So if you're struggling, reach out to that person. You're like, you know what? I know this person's great on the phone. I know this person is, my positive buildup. I know every time I talk to this person, when I hang up the phone, they make me feel better and stronger about myself. Or just to put a TED Talk on, search, stop thinking that your learning is over, because that's what propels us forward. That's what makes us get up in the morning and say, okay, I'm going to go out there and win. And sometimes I'm going to go out there and pick a fight. In the automotive industry, that's what sometimes it has to be, because you're walking into salespeople that are salespeople. They're the gift to sales. They've read those books. They've studied the people. They know the techniques. You can't go in and tell a dealer, I know how you feel. Other dealerships felt the same way. After joining us, they found out they're going to throw you out. Feel, felt, found was taught back in, I think, by Noah. So Noah taught the animals 2 by 2. Here's feel, felt, found. Everyone knows that one. Nobody wants that used on them. And nobody wants to buy anything. Everybody likes to be, everyone likes to buy, is what I should say. Everyone likes to buy. They just don't like to be sold. In the automotive industry, you walk in and they're going to tell you no. It doesn't mean that you don't come back the next day. I've made phone calls to somebody who was just very, very angry with me. I did nothing wrong. I didn't even get to introduce myself, but they hung up on me. So I waited an hour, 2 hours, or the next day, picked up the phone, give them a call. Completely different person. Same person I'm talking to, but just them, their own demeanor, because they live in a world of the dealership. They're trapped there. So a lot of times 9 to 9. You can't go in and ask them, hey, did you see the ending of Breaking Bad? No, I don't watch TV. They saw Maury, but it's on in the it's on right there in the customer lounge. But other than that, the TV is probably not happening, especially when you're talking to owners and GMs and people who make the decisions. But I don't know. That was a very long answer to a very short question.
That was a phenomenal answer. I for real. And you touched on a lot of different things in there. And I wanna maybe dial into a couple of those different things. So
sure.
One of them, you mentioned that you're selling to people at the end of the day. And you're not necessarily, it's not about what you're selling. It's remembering that they're people, right? And I've said this before, and I'm interested in getting your take on it. But to me, it doesn't matter if it's B2B, B2C, B2G. At the end of the day, you're always selling to a person. Do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. And I believe that when you're selling to a person, you want to sell to them the same way that you want to be sold to, or just talk to them. And what's strong is that it's really hard in the automotive industry to walk into a dealership and sell them. I don't think I've ever done that in 18 years. I don't think I've ever actually sold and closed a deal. I've had a conversation with them, and even though they weren't thinking about the product or the solution that I brought into the door, even though I brought it up, I put all the information in front of them. It was their brain that went around the way that their dealership works, the way that they operate, and they came to the conclusion that they have the idea now that they need you. So even though I brought it in, when I walk out, it's still their idea. And that's the way it should be. That's not an insult. That's not a dig on anybody in the automotive industry. If they don't know how their store works and how it should continue to work, then you're talking to the wrong person. And you can sell 100 different Chrysler dealers, 100 different GM dealers, and go door to door. And if you expect them to be the same, they're not going to be. Everybody is individual, just like yourself. And your technique is going to be your own. And their technique is going to be their own. It's about just having conversations and moving on from one side of a conversation to another side, but making sure it's beneficial the entire time. And just treating people decent and having integrity. And if you say, I'm going to send you an email as soon as I leave here, send an email as soon as you leave there. If you say, I'll call you tomorrow at noon is when you should be making a phone call. Me, I'm usually about 10 minutes early. So, get in there and get done. And don't be afraid of sitting in the lobby or doing the things that you have to do in order to meet them at their needs, because that's what you're doing. That's what you would want done for you. If you were so busy and somebody asked for your time, you said yes. You didn't have to say yes, but yes, you can have my time. And they come in and they demand to see you at that exact moment that you said yes, and you're moving metal. You're dealing with customers who aren't happy. You're dealing with customers who are happy. You're dealing with, salespeople who just aren't hitting their goal. You're doing what you need to do as a leader, and you have one guy out there staring you down. That's not what you want. Mm-hmm. I've sat in dealerships before. One dealership I did the Ben Franklin close and sat there for 6 hours. We ended up ordering lunch just by pointing at the menu. And every time somebody would walk through the door to ask him a question, he'd hold up his hand and walk out and make sure I couldn't hear him, because he knew that the first person to speak loses. That's a sales technique that he knew he proved to me that day that he knew exactly what I was doing. Here, sign here, put the pen on the line, and he knew exactly what was happening. But then his son got in trouble at school, so he came in and said, "You win," and signed, and we've been great friends ever since. But it's just about seriously being a decent person of integrity, no matter what you're doing. If you're going to florists and selling to them, or if you're going to grocery stores, or if you're going into bars and selling, beer or anything like that, it's always just about that connection. And if you walk in thinking that they're better than you, they're going to feel it. It's that transference of feeling. It's always going to be that transference of feeling. It's like waiting in line at a carnival, Michael, and you notice that the guy is staring at you, and you look a little bit like the guy in high school that stole his girlfriend. There's a possibility that he might put you on the bad merry-go-round, ride and speed it up a little bit faster. You get that bad feeling, you get out of line. You're like, I really don't feel like riding on this merry-go-round right now, because I'm getting kind of feeling from that guy. And we've all went to buy something that we absolutely wanted. We walked in the store, I want that refrigerator, this is what I want. And the salesperson that came up just gave you the feeling like, I don't want to buy from you.
Yeah.
And it could have been low self-esteem. It could have been arrogance. It could have been all kinds of different things. But what it wasn't was being decent and having integrity. I can promise you that every single time.
Sure. So one other question I want to ask you as it pertains to this, I've seen, and I can't remember where I saw it for the life of me, but I've seen something that stuck with me over the years. And it was that people buy with emotion and justify it with logic later. And I love that, but I'm not sure it's 100% correct. I'll be honest with you. What are your thoughts on that statement?
I think that we alone by ourselves make emotional decisions, and that's breaking away just even from the sales cycle. That if you're looking at, buying a house or buying a car or getting a credit card, and my little brother, he calls me on every financial purchase that he's made because he doesn't want to make an emotional decision. Emotional decisions are the ones that lead us down an emotional path, and we start this whole reaction response thing. Make an emotional decision, it's like a doctor telling you you're having a reaction to a medication. That's not a good thing. But if you take time and you actually logically make a response decision, then you will not make that same mistake again. So the best thing to do, again, is have mentors that will lead you and have the results you're looking for. So if you know somebody who's financially stable, or somebody, I'm going to start a new workout program. Well, an athlete who works out that way, make a phone call to them. You always see at the end of any commercial that's trying to sell some kind of pharmaceutical, consult your doctor first. Or if they say, well, here's a new workout program, consult your doctor first. Why? Because they know what they're doing. So I think logic is left out of a lot of decisions, emotional decisions. We move forward with that. How exactly did the statement go again? I just want to make sure I have it correct.
It was that people buy with emotion and justify it with logic later.
Right. That was the other thing. So we talked about emotion, justification. The only way you can justify anything is to criticize at any point with anything, no matter what you do. And we go through 5 different stages, and I'll go through that in a second. But if you're going to justify where you are, or justify your stance, or justify your opinion, no matter what that opinion might be, I don't like pepperoni pizza. I love pepperoni pizza. But if I'm going, exactly. So for you to justify that, you have to criticize something about pepperoni pizza. So it comes down to that. So yeah, we do probably buy with emotion. I want this, and especially that's why stores put the things they put at the counter. Those last minute emotional buys that you can just pick up the candies right there.
I'm a sucker.
Because right, I have kids. Can I have candy? It's right here. So it's hard to say no and stand there and wait for 10 minutes and still have that no present. But I do believe that we do buy with emotion more often than we should. But when you're talking with a dealership, they have so many influencers now. There's a book called The Challenger Sales, and it talks about all the influencers. So it's not like before when you walked in, talked to the owner and said, hey, Bob, let's do this and we'll move forward. And he says, yeah, I'm the one who makes the decision. He signs off on it. It's good for everybody. Now he's like, well, I don't really understand it. So here's all the influencers, and they range from this age to that age to this generation to that generation. They all have an opinion on how it's going to affect them. And I've even seen some dealerships turn down something that's going to be very, very good for them simply because the person that they asked, their influencer, just didn't want to do more work. This is going to add to their load. And you have to, and the reason I lost that is because I didn't reach out and actually talk to every single person. And that's really hard to do in today's age because they're very protective of their influencers when it comes to automotive. So it's a very long waiting game to show and to prove that their emotion isn't what they should be looking at. Logically, this is what is the best thing for them. And that's why I have such a very low churn rate everywhere I go. People don't cancel on me because I'm honest, decency and integrity. And if it doesn't logically make sense for the dealership, I'm not going to sell it to them. I've actually walked out of dealerships and said, this just isn't for you. And if you don't have the gall to do that, then sales might not be the best thing. And face it, 5% of the people in the world actually want to do sales, and then 5% of those who actually get into sales want to stay into it. So 18 years of it's a game that's tough. It's every day you're going out and you're getting beat up. There's times when you win, and when you win, it's great. And then unfortunately, when you have this big loss, people stop in sales. I lost. Now I need to curl up in a ball. But nobody reads that story. Nobody's interested in that story, Michael. Nobody wants to know that story of, the hero at the end decided he got too hurt and rolled up in a ball and started crying. The end. Nobody likes that. You know what I mean?
Oh, no.
So, and it's, and nobody wants, even as much as children like to read, they live happily ever after. Most people in sales stop after a big win. I won. I nailed that big group. That's the next time to make another phone call and keep working towards that, because you're on that level of success, because one breeds another. So does that answer your question with the emotion and justification?
It definitely does. Yeah. And I think it says even more. I mean, just maintaining a level mindset, I think, is also very important. And you touched on this as well. I mean, it's probably very easy to get down, I would imagine, being told no hundreds of times in a week span, if not more. And then the victories are huge, like you said. I mean, it's like hitting a home run. You got the team, you celebrate, maybe it's a walk-off, and you don't want to go back and start cold calling people again right after that. You're coming off a big win. So I think maintaining that level of balance is also pretty important, as you said.
Right. Yeah. In wrestling, you pin the guy, that's great. If you got pinned or you lost that match and you have to do another match, you're not as excited as you were when you first stepped into that first match. But if you take time away and you leave one dealership and they told you no and they've quickly just tore you apart, I mean, made you feel as if you didn't know what you were doing, because it happens. And you walk out and you're like, wow, why did I say what I just said? I would never say that. No one's ever told me that. I've never thought that. It just came out of my mouth and I know I messed it up. If you carry that weight to the next dealership or the next call, that's what they're going to see when they walk through the door, because that transference of feeling is right there on your privilege, on your face, that I just failed. I feel like a failure. I'm just going to fail with you too. And I've never seen anybody close a deal by crying. So, that I don't think that, yeah, if that would work, I would learn how to, just cry on command. But, I don't know how long we'd keep those deals. Well, he cried. Yeah. Nobody wants to see that. I'm sure I'm not the best looking crier in the world.
I'm sure I'm not either.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Topher, for all your time today. I really appreciate it. And this has been probably, as far as I think, at least, it's been one of the more enlightening sessions that I've had. So hopefully our listeners, viewers all feel the same, and maybe we can have you back sometime.
I'll come back anytime that you need me to.
Perfect.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Take it easy.